Hi everyone, welcome back to Novel Nomad and welcome to my book haul. Yes, like I said in my Christmas and New Year's wrap up, it was not going to be my last one for the year, that's for sure. So these books are the books that I have bought. Yes, I do have a few more that I acquired as ARCs or I got at work, but these ones are the ones that I bought because I was just so excited to get them. So without further ado, I'm going to be starting straight off into the non-fiction, and that is East West Street by Philip Sands. This is actually also signed, which is also amazing, but this is a really interesting book. As soon as I read the blurb, I knew it would be incredibly fascinating. So Philip Sands is an international lawyer, and as he was invited to do a lecture in Ukraine, he decided to go on a bit of a personal journey and discover his family, and in that he actually makes his way as a historical detective in a way through history to the Nuremberg trials to really look at the people behind the Nuremberg trials and to see the characters and places and situation of the people, not only the judges and the prosecutors, but those who are being prosecuted, the people who are responsible for mass murder and killings during the Second World War. So as a historian, this one completely fascinated me because I completely understand how history is written by the winners, but also history and personal history can be changed and affected, and the future can be affected through memory, guilt, and consequences of different actions that were happened in the past. So this sounds fascinating with the blend of memoir, history, and humanitarian law. Next were two books that I could not decide between, so even though I asked my friends to help me decide, they all agreed that I should definitely read this one, The White Chrysanthemum by Mary Lynn Bratt. So this one is a historical fiction set in Korea. It follows two young sisters as they are scavenging along the shoreline for things to eat and help their families when they are approached by a Japanese soldier. And suddenly they are violently torn apart, and you hear both of their stories. One, what was happening during the Second World War, and the other one in present day. So you don't know what happened to one of them because only one seemingly has survived. So this one sounds absolutely amazing. Korea, I think, and Manchuria often doesn't get highlighted in many of the Western World War II fiction, but it's going to be a very powerful read. Next, the other book I picked up is the absolutely gorgeous covered Pachinko by Ming Jing Lee. So this one follows a young woman who is forced into marriage to a club-footed, cleft-lipped man in 1911, but then it also follows on to her daughter who's almost dragged into the Japanese underbelly by not only a Yakuza, but then she's offered salvation as a Christian wife in Japan. So it's going to be very interesting to see these cultures collide, because during that time there was great animosity between Japan and Korea, especially between the ideas of race. So it's going to be really interesting to see where the comparisons of race come into this, because it is set during a hugely tumultuous time, not only in Japanese but Korean history, especially when the Japan was invading Korea and northern China during the 1930s and into the Second World War. Next I have a library haul, which is super pretty. It is a little bit banged up, but that's fine. I only paid 50 cents for it, and that is Sarah Moss Night Walking. Now I believe I was recommended Sarah Moss by Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings. I really want to read her book that is actually set in Japan. Not for my Japanese TBR, that is mainly going to be Japanese authors. So this one really speaks to me because it is about a historian with a young toddler, and she is writing a book, but her family is upended when the husband drags them off to the Northern Isles of Scotland to continue his study. But she is fending off sleeplessness from raising the toddler, fear and memory from finding a child's skeleton within the garden, and also her work is being invaded by very persuasive letters from a woman from 1870. So I think this is going to be a really interesting contemporary novel blending historical fiction and a little bit of gothic into it. Okay, so I could not pass up when Penguin has recently published the absolutely beautiful women writers covers. I will put a picture here for your viewing. It is absolutely amazing series, which has been curated in mind of the 100 years since women had the right to vote. Certain women, of course, not all women, but that was mainly in UK. Women had the right to vote in South Australia a little bit earlier, sorry guys, but having this celebration of women's writing throughout history as well within those 100 years is really fascinating. So I got The Lark by E. Nesbit. I actually haven't read any of E. Nesbit's famous children's literature, which I believe is The Railway Children. But this one sounds incredibly interesting because it is about two women in 1919 as they have a little bit of independence for the first time, and they decide to spend their summer absolutely frivolously living for themselves and not at the whims of other people. So this sounds beautiful. The cover is gorgeous in person, so you definitely have to check them out. But I'm hoping this one has almost the same whimsy and the bosom friends of an Ellen Montgomery read. So speaking of a modern classic for children and especially for women, is that I picked up a copy of What Katie Did by Susan Coolidge. Now I have seen this recommended on so many channels, mainly Kate Howes, but this one I haven't read, which is quite surprising because obviously I've read Anne of Green Gables, but this is also highly lauded for its realistic depiction of children but also women and young girls. So I was really fascinated, especially rambunctious and very adventurous young girls. There's always a little bit of spark and moxie in them. But these covers are just recently released by Virago and they are absolutely beautiful. They have done similar covers for books 2 and 3 in the series, which I will hopefully be picking up after I read this one, of course. So I'm very much looking forward to picking this up for a little bit of whimsy and fun. Next I had to pick up, because it's one of my most beloved authors, and that is Celine Keranin's latest book, The Wild Magic Trilogy, Begone the Raggedy Witch. This is absolutely stunning. It's red foiling, may I just add. It is published by Walker Books in the UK, so I'm not sure about the US release, but I'm sure you could find a copy if you did want to pick this up. Now I love Celine Keranin's Mohawk trilogy, but as she keeps writing, her books just keep getting better and better and better, and I just absolutely adore them. So this follows Mup as her father is kidnapped and taken into a very mysterious supernatural world called the Witch's Burrow. So she, her mum, brother and dog all go into this Witch's Burrow to find them, but her mother starts changing, or her mam, I should say, her mam starts changing and becomes a very different person to whom Mup has always known. So even if they do manage to save Mup's father, their mother might never be the same person again. So this one is a middle grade book. I don't usually read very much middle grade, but I will read it for Celine Keranin because she is fantastic. Next, if you follow my Instagram stories, you'll see I just got a lovely box of books from the Ripped Bodice that I ordered. I always love shopping from there because I can usually get some great romance titles, but I wanted to increase my diversity of reading this year, and so I picked up Let's Talk About Love by Claire Can, and this one sounds absolutely amazing. I believe it has elements of LGBT community in here as well, and wonderfully represented. So this book follows Alice as she's planning to have an absolutely awesome summer with very minimal adulting and a lot of awesomeness, and she mainly intends to spend all this time with her friends because she's just had a very nasty breakup with her girlfriend. But this is all upended by Takumi, her new co-worker, who is not only a man but also confuses Alice because she is pretty much 100% sure that she's asexual as well. So with all these spanners thrown into the works of her awesome summer, she's not sure what to do next. This sounds really cute. It is a YA, but I think the representation in this book is going to be astounding. The next two books I'm going to blame Michaela from The Crazy Book Lady. I will link her down below. Her Instagram is absolutely gorgeous. But she posted these recently and I just had to find a copy. They are Octavia Butler's The Parable of Talents and The Parable of the Sower. Just look at how amazing these covers are. They are so gorgeous. There is such authenticity in the illustration, the design. It is absolutely beautiful. Octavia Butler is a sci-fi writer that I've been wanting to read for so long. I've been trying to find her book Dawn. She's a really hard author to track down in Australia, mainly because all the UK publication books of her books are out of print. So we just have to wait for them to be reprinted, or I have to hunt down secondhand copies, and shipping to Australia is not cheap, unfortunately. But these editions are absolutely stunning. I'm just going to put it out here now that if Seven Stories, the publishers of these books, want to publish Octavia Butler's entire catalogue, I will buy them. I will buy all of the books that they publish from Octavia Butler, because these covers are beautiful and they really signify Octavia Butler's unique and authentic voice within the sci-fi genre. So if you've read these before, let me know, or if you have a recommendation for an Octavia Butler book, let me know that too. I will be on the lookout, but these ones are definitely going to be my first port of call in the Octavia Butler realm. So I was just about to wrap up, but then I remembered I have 2 more books, so I'll go get them for you. Correction, I have 3 more books. So these ones I got at the Penguin Teen Australia Showcase of 2018, where I got to see an advanced screening of Love, Simon. It is so cute, guys. Happy tears all the way through that movie. I read the book within like a day and a bit to read it just before I saw the movie, and it's so worth it. I do recommend the book as well. That is Simon vs. a Homo Sapiens by Becky Albertalli. And in saying that, I did pick up her second book, The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli, of course. This one I wasn't going to pick up until the lovely Tori from Dymocks Adelaide said that it is in Simon's universe. I thought this was a completely different standalone. It is a standalone in its way, but because you might get a glimpse of Simon, who I loved from the first book, I picked it up straight away because I just really want to get some more Simon into my life. Next we have The Centre of Everything by Lane L. Webster. This is actually set in Mildura, which is on the border of South Australia and Victoria, which is 2 states within Australia. This is a Australian rural YA, so it is set in a country town, and it focuses very much on the hard reality of teen drinking, bullying, and within rural communities a stigma for different races and people. So this one sounds really fascinating. The author herself is from Adelaide and has grown up in a rural town, so there is definitely authenticity of place within this book. So being so close to home, I'm interested to see my reactions to this one. Lastly, a very gorgeous book that I bought was Siobhan Plaws's new book, Tin Heart. Now, not only is this book absolutely gorgeous, I'm very excited to read this one because it sounds like a fantastic YA, because it has a little element of romance as well as a really interesting plotline, and Siobhan's characters are always spot on ace characters. So this follows Marlo as she gets a heart transplant, and she wants to suddenly become in her new life not the dying girl. She wants to be the girl who has a normal life, who has a normal existence. She doesn't want to be followed by the shadow of that stigma any longer. However, she does want to thank the family of the heart donor. The hopes of a normal life are going to be fairly well dashed because she has a wildly eccentric younger brother, a mother who is a vegan crusader, and she has an all-out war against the boy next door. And Siobhan was so amazing at the showcase last night. It was really fabulous to meet her, and it's just going to be really fun to know the person behind the book. So these are all the books that I have purchased so far in 2018. If you have any idea where I should start first, because I at least want to read 2 of them in between my Japanese TBI. If you want to see my Japanese TBI, I'll link it just up top and down below for you to watch, but I want to read 2 books from this collection in the meantime. So which book do you think I should read? Tell me down below which one you thought sounded more intriguing and exciting, and I'll get right onto it. So I hope you have a wonderful day, happy reading, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!